Before T.I. recorded the term trap music, and before Future was fishtailing out of Magic, when Deion Sanders had the city buzzing, and Dominique Wilkins was in the prime of his career, Freaknik had all eyes on ATL. It was still finding its identity in the music industry. Before ATL would claim its dominance in hip-hop, there was a young producer from Columbus, Georgia, who helped build the blueprint and will ultimately open the floodgates. His name is Dallas Austin.
You know, that's the magic about Atlanta is I've seen everybody come up because it all started with us starting it. And then from that point, we let them know that you could do it, and everybody started coming through the doors. Like whether it's TLC, or Ludacris, or like Little John. We knew all them way before they all made it, you know, because we were all in the community here. And we was all in high school together trying to make it.
I felt like if one of us got through it, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like when I started to crack through, and when Jermaine started to crack through, like Silk Times Leather.
Yeah.
And we had, and I had like the Joyce Irby stuff going. Then we started to see like, okay, everybody else was still being our friends. It was still like, whether it was Chad, Jermaine, or me and Reek and them, we were just like, but I was the one doing it already.
Yeah.
And we had this thing before me organizing and Jermaine. We've known each other since the skating rinks. So since we were like 16, since I first got to Atlanta. My first project was with Joyce Irby. I did a song with her and Dougie Fresh called Hey Mr. DJ. And before that, I did like Troop and a couple of songs on the group The Boys. But when I did Mr. DJ, it was the first #2 record I had. And from that point, after that, I did Another Bad Creation.
We got a special treat for you. Our guests come all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, on the Motown recording label. In the 70s, there was the Jacksons. Then came New Edition. Then came the Boys. So tell them who we got here tonight. No, you gotta look up and tell them.
Okay, Another Bad Creation.
Another Bad Creation.
The year was 1990, and a group of 5 kids from the south side of Atlanta wanted in on the music industry. And with the help of Dallas Austin, they would make their way onto the charts. They go by the name of ABC, Another Bad Creation.
This is where we all started at right here. This is the very beginning of ABC, Another Bad Creation. As a matter of fact, I used to stay right here in this apartment, M2. Second door right here.
And me and my brother, Mark, we used to stay right here in T2. And me and Kris met each other out here. Actually, we got to fight when we first met each other.
Right.
And then we became the best of friends, man.
And we decided to start a group. Red was into a lot of music, and I was into music. And we said, hey, man, let's put something together.
That's when they were discovered by Kevin Wales, a full-time airline employee, part-time performer, whose sister worked at the salon.
ABC was later signed by Michael Bivins in New Edition, but when it came to the production, Bivins turned to a young Dallas Austin. And in 1990, ABC released their breakout single, Aisha, and followed up with their debut album, Coolin' at the Playground, which went on to receive platinum status. Bivins would again turn to Dallas for production on another group he had signed, named Boyz II Men. That would turn into their 1991 breakout single, Motown Philly.
And so let me say on the record, Dallas Austin was an integral part in creating what people know as of Boyz II Men.
Right.
He helped create the sound. He did.
Hey man, the first time I ever heard Boyz II Men, it was so interesting. I was in a studio in LA and Gerald Busby called me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you have to hear something. And he plays Motown Philly over the phone. That was my first time hearing it. I was like, whoa.
Meanwhile, a songwriting duo was looking to expand in the music industry and decided to relocate to Atlanta and make it the home of their new label, LaFace Records. They go by the name of L.A. Reid and Babyface.
Yeah, we moved to Atlanta after we had a big hit with the song Two Occasions.
Right.
And at that time, Babyface and I were also writing and producing for many other acts. And just by sheer coincidence or fate, all of those songs started to have success at the same time. And we found ourselves with 4 or 5 songs on the charts. And we lived in Los Angeles and decided that maybe there was a greater opportunity in this beautiful town down south that was the Black Mecca, that had Martin Luther King, that had Andrew Young, that had Maynard Jackson, that had this beautiful Black Mecca. And we were like, let's pick up and move to this beautiful Black Mecca and make a contribution to whatever that might be and soak up some of that beautiful royalty of Atlanta.
In 1989, Babyface and L.A. Reid would embark on a new journey, making Atlanta, Georgia the home of LaFace Records. But they wouldn't come by themselves. They came with the first act signed to LaFace. They go by the name of Damian Dame.
We really worked hard on their records, and we really, Face and I put in a lot of time, and Darryl Simmons and K.O. We all put a lot of time into the development of their music, and when we put it out, we didn't get the reception that we'd expected. We were expecting, we had done Babyface's albums, we had done Pebbles, we'd done The Deal, we'd done Johnny Gill, Bobby Brown, Karen White, all before we started LaFace Records. So when we started, we expected the same success, and we didn't have the same success. And so I went to New York and I asked Clive Davis, like, sir, when are you gonna push the button? And he said, what do you mean? And he says, sit down right here for a second. I sit down next to him. He says, watch this next performance. Whitney Houston comes on stage and she sings. And he looks at me and says, do you think you have Whitney Houston?
I was still like going to the skating rink and hanging out with my friends here in Atlanta, and so I would be known as they'll be playing my record at the skating rink while I'm skating with my friends, and T-Boz and all these guys would be. Everybody would be at the skating rink with us.
Every day after school, I would have the guys teach me how to dance so that I could compete at Jelly Beans every Sunday on the dance floor. I was never that good at it, so Dallas would be skating and I would be dancing. It was so awesome.
It was so much fun. For 4 or 5 hours every Sunday, it was just like a place where we escaped where we really lived at.
And in that skating rink, because we became so attached to the rink on Sundays, that's what I did the movie ATL about. But we became so attached to the rink that even inside the rink, the guys gave Organized Noise a studio, and that's where they started at, inside this actual skating rink.
And it was actually Rico Wade who became prominent years later as a member of Organized Noise and actually did one of their biggest records, Waterfalls. He was the one who brought Lisa to the audition over at Sidney Darden's house. And I actually said no to Lisa in the beginning. I felt like she came in a dress. I was looking for girls that were kind of tomboyish.
Right.
And so I actually said no to Lisa. And I went in the back to sit down and talk with Rico and the rest of the guys. And Crystal sat up front with Lisa, and Lisa rapped for Crystal. And then Crystal came back and just like, yo, man, you really need to hear her rap. You really need to hear her. And I was like, Crystal, she's not fitting the mold. I don't think it's going to work. But Crystal said, look, I need you to listen. And I listened, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're in the group.
Wow.
So after that, Rico actually was supposed to bring Tion to the meeting. She couldn't make it that night.
I worked in a hair salon doing nails and hair. And Marie was a hairstylist where I worked. Mm-hmm. And she started doing Pebbles hair when LA and Babyface moved to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So I said, tell Pebbles I'm the she need to holler at me. I was just talking, but they really called me at home that night, and I was like, yeah. So I had literally just auditioned for this guy named N. Burke.
Rico was like, yo, she's definitely the one. So we went to this woman's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, knocked on her door, and when she opened the door, I was like, yo, you don't even have to sing. You're it. That's it. You're it. Because she didn't have no makeup on. She's fresh out of the bed, wiping the sleep out of her eyes. And I just saw the star that Tion is. And she sang, even though she had a cold and everything. She did. It's like, at that time, it's like, oh, whatever. It's all good.
And I sang I Want to Get With You by God, because that was the only way I could show my lower register.
Mm-hmm. It was Jermaine who made her sing, Tion singing that lower register. You know what I'm saying? He was the one who was like, you know what? I got to, we got to change this whole situation around. Try singing like that. She didn't like it at first, but it became her signature sound.
That's right.
Therefore becoming the signature sound of TLC.
Right.
Me and Ian got cool in this time period. He started finding artists, and he found this girl from Philly, a female rapper. And he was like, JD, I got this female rapper, I'm gonna bring it to your house. Now these people started coming to my house like it was the studio. It's my mother's house. Mm-hmm.
So shout out to moms.
Yeah, he brought Left Eye to my house, I heard her rap. I said, okay, cool. But she ain't had no place to stay. You know what I mean? She was fresh up from Philly. And my room was just 24/7. It was just 24/7. It wasn't no sleeping. I'm like, you just kick it here. So for like a week, she basically was staying in my closet at the house, because I didn't want my mother to know what was going on in there. It wasn't nothing but music going on, but still, my mother would have been like, why that girl staying over here? You know what I mean? So, but she stayed. When Lisa was at my house, we met another girl that we skipped over in that story. And that other girl that was introduced to us was T-Boz. Right? So I started writing these songs, and I wrote a song for TL, and it was called I Got It Going On, right? And the way I was singing the demo, I was like, I want you to sing it like this. And she was like, I don't.
You can't sing, JD.
Yeah, you can't sing, and that's low. Don't nobody want to hear me sing like that. They want to hear me sing. I'm like, nah, you got to be cool. Like, you got to sing down here where I'm at. You hear where I'm at? You got to sing where I'm at. So Tion started mimicking my demo, and that's how she got that sound, the T-Boz sound that people know of today.
And then they was like, okay, we want you to meet this girl named Crystal, because she has a group. So basically, that's how I got with them. So when I told Pebbles that, I was like, we're in a group, you know, and we're called Second Nature. So the next day, she took us out to eat. The third day, we auditioned, and she was just like, I want you to be, you know, my group. But she didn't like Crystal.
So if y'all watch the TLC movie, they had a meeting with Pebbles, and Left Eye called somebody in VH1, but they cut me out. When she makes that phone call, she called me. When she called me, she said, they want to sign us, what you want to do? And I was like, damn. But I was like, you know what? If they sign y'all, just let me produce some songs on the album. Y'all go ahead.
Pebbles met T-Boz and Left Eye and brought them to our house to meet me. And Damien Dang, that act, had a dancer singer in the band, in their background band, called, her name was Rosanda. And I saw Rosanda and thought about Left Eye and T-Boz and said, yo, you should come to my house and meet these other two girls.
And I knew them. I had known them. Like I said, me and T-Boz have been friends before, because me, her, and Jermaine would go skating all the time, and like we were kind of just cool friends. And so when he brought TLC to the meeting that day, I looked at him and I said, "Are you kidding me? You guys are gonna be a group too?"
Lisa, Rosanna, this is Dallas Austin, and you two know each other.
What's up, T?
What up, D? How did you find him, Tion? I love his tapes, love his mixes. We go way back, right? School,
Jelly beans.
He the real jam, too.
Because everybody's gonna be a group in Atlanta now, kind of thing. Because they were, you know, like I said, we all did skating rinks. And so when I started to see him, I said, okay, I got it. So then LA looks at me in that meeting and he goes, well, what do you think they should be? You know, so they're definitely not in vogue, so I think we should make them the female BBD.
What about your friends? Will they stand their ground? Will they let you down again? What about your friends? Are they gonna be low down? Will they ever be around? Or will it turn their backs on you?
I'm the T-Boz.
I'm the leggy left eye.
I'm the and the Billy Cheers. And that is on the TLC tip.
In 1992, their debut album, Ooh, on the TLC tip, introduced the world to hits like Ain't Too Proud to Bang, Baby, 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 and What About Your Friends? But in 1994, their album Crazy Sexy Cool made them global superstars, with anthems like Creep, Red Light Special, and the legendary anthem Waterfalls, made them one of the best-selling girl groups in music history.
That same month, Greg, a young man from Arista Records calls me and says, his name was Tony Anderson. And there was a second guy, the names escape me because I'm getting older now. But they said, we have this band called the Braxtons. Not sure what to do with them, thinking of parting ways with them. unless you guys see something in it. And they brought the girls to Atlanta, and the Braxtons auditioned for Kenny and I. And we saw Toni sit down at the piano and start talking and playing. You know how Marvin Gaye does on the Motown 25, where he talks and plays at the same time before he even sings? Toni was doing that, and I was like, oh my God. And Face was like, that tone of her voice, he said, that's a really special tone. So we offered her a recording contract. So we ended up like really having incredible success with signing Toni Braxton and TLC, both within the same month.
Meanwhile, that kid that gave T-Boz her signature sound was starting to make some noise of his own. That sound would turn out to be so deaf. His name is Jermaine Dupri.
The Fresh Fest basically came to Atlanta. Well, it was the first show ever in Atlanta. And Ricky Walker, who was my dad's friend, was looking for these dancers that could basically buy time and be an opening act.
In the process of that, it was also a combination of break dancers. So the New York City Fresh Festival was rap acts and was the first national touring for rap acts.
My father asked Ricky if we could do the rest of, once they decided to do a whole tour, he asked could I do the whole tour. They say yes. Wasn't no money involved.
The opening act to the show, to the tour, was this young man, dancer, who would be dancing in this little laser light filled cone with music, and he would just bust out of the cone from a dark stage and start doing this dance, and the crowd became captivated. And that young man was Jermaine Dupri.
At the time in the city, the most popular rapper in Atlanta was Shy D. He was like the first person from Atlanta that was from New York. And if you from Atlanta, you know what I'm talking about. Most of the people out here was like, they in Atlanta, but they was from New York, and they all lived on the east side. Shy D was that person. And I asked Shy D to help me write a rap. And my first song that I performed on the tour, he basically wrote for me. And he basically started showing me how to write raps, but I wasn't really catching it like that. I wanted to perform. So he wrote this song for me called It's Me, JD, it's me. It's me, JD. And I would dance and rap. So the girls starting to scream at me differently because I'm rapping. The fellas looking at me differently because I'm rapping. It's a whole different vibe than when you dance. This is the golden era of hip hop, in which people say, and I'm 13 and I'm watching every bit of this. So I had a group prior that was called Silk Times Leather. That was these two girls.
It was called what?
Silk Times Leather. They actually were the girlfriends of Houdini that I met on tour. Oh, shit. Right? Wow. So I met them when we was on tour, and they was like, we from Atlanta. And I'm like, from Atlanta? And then I think Herbie had just put out Salt and Pepper. So this was like girls that was paying attention to this. And some kind of way we started having a conversation, and I never produced a record in my life. And the girls was like, we want to do what Salt and Pepper doing. And I'm like, you should let me produce you. I never did that. I don't know why I even said it, but I just was paying attention to what Herbie was doing, and it seemed interesting. So I started really paying attention to what he was doing. I'm like, oh, he writing the raps, he making the beats, all of this. And I'm like, I could do it. So I started trying to do it, and I did it good enough where I got them a deal. They got signed to Geffen Records. Right? So they actually was the first rap group in Atlanta to have a real major record deal.
I want to say peace from Silk, and we want to say peace from Leather, even though she's not here, but she right here. See ya.
So we didn't really have a lot of success, but we had enough success where I got $15,000 so I could get some real equipment.
I put it all into this room. So, I put it all back into what I do, my production company. So, most of it anyway.
It would be a chance meeting at a Southwest Atlanta mall that will ultimately change the lives of Jermaine Dupri and two young kids, Chris Kelly and Chris Smith. They go by the name of Kross.
Then one day, me and the DJ, was a female named Dolamix, we went to Greenbrier Mall, and they had an article in Jet magazine about the female rappers at that particular point in time. And one of the Chris's moms saw Dolamix and was like, I know that girl.
Well, you know, one day we was just bugging out at the mall, buying clothes and stuff. Right. And then, you know, we saw a group by the name of Silk Times Leather.
Asked me for an autograph.
Basically started following them through Greenbrier Mall. I just had to walk up to them and I'm like, yo, what do y'all do? Who are you? And it's like, we don't do nothing. We just from around here. And I'm giving you the nice version, because they was really, really like mean, like little West Side kids that didn't want to be bothered with me.
Jermaine Dupri would eventually write and produce for Kris Kross. The smash hit Jump, which spent 8 weeks at the #1 spot on Billboard, followed by their 4-time platinum 1993 debut album, Totally Crossed Out. As for Dupri, this success marked the beginning of an Atlanta staple. It put him on the map as an established producer. That same year, Dupri would try his hand on the R&B side of things with an Atlanta-based female quartet. They go by the name of Xscape.
Kris Kross blows up, the record go #1. Yeah. I think my birthday came around, and I had a little birthday party at my house. Ian came to my house, and he brought these girls, some more girls. The girls he brought to my house was Xscape.
Mm-hmm. And we showed up and we sung happy birthday to him, and I think it was something else we might have sung.
After they sang, I'm like, I fuck with y'all. I'm gonna sign y'all to my label. I don't have no label. I just said it. And then like after I said that, I think 2 weeks later, Sony was like, you know, we want to give you a production deal if you can bring out some more artists. Mm-hmm. Can you bring more artists? And I'm like, yeah, I got this group already. I'm about to sign them.
And, you know, sure enough, he came back and he got us.
So wait a minute.
The house.
She said we built the house. So
y'all were the first act?
The very first act.
Well, what about Kris Kross?
So they wasn't signed to So Def.
Right.
So Def started with Xscape.
Columbia didn't expect me to say I'm coming with R&B
they think
shit.
you gon'...
They like, what? An R&B group? I'm like, yeah. And they like, what R&B have you done? None.
Jermaine Dupri would again defy the odds with the launch of his label So Def and the release of Xscape's breakout single, Just Kicking It, which reached #1 on the Billboard R&B chart and #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, followed by the release of their 1993 debut album, Hummin' Coming At Ya, launching a career that would make them one of the defining R&B groups of the decade.
Sometimes the rain is proven when I hear the sound, like you and me, baby, getting down with the sound. Good loving in the midnight, come on. Sweet loving comes morning light, but don't worry about nothing. Just give me good, just give me good, just give me good love. Lay back, kick it, and enjoy the ride.
Stay tuned for part 2 as we continue to unfold the stories behind the moguls, the producers, and the artists who created Atlanta's music scene before the trap.